Hello, YouTube. I'm just wondering aloud right now um, about climate change and the Paris agreements that the U.S. or Trump, recently pulled out of. I'm not a climate scientist, so I don't know very much on the science of climate change. I'm not a scientist in any capacity, but I do have opinions and I do have some questions. A lot of this seems to be about money and fairness and who gets to increase their productivity using traditional methods for certain amounts of time and who has to stunt their productivity based on previous carbon emissions. I think that carbon is an issue because it has tangible effects. Just how tangible those effects are, I am not sure. So I don't know if it is fair to force large groups of individuals to curb their carbon emissions. Is it fair? It's for the benefit of the world. That's what I'm told. But is it fair that one group of individuals has to curb them and another group doesn't? If we go and say the whole world should curb their carbon emissions, that's not fair to developing nations that would like to use the same methods that the US industrialized with and Europe industrialized with. But if we say that no one should be restricted, then this whole climate change thing continues on the path that it is going on. So some people have to sacrifice while others don't, is what I'm being told, which doesn't seem fair, but it doesn't seem fair either way. I think I've read some articles that look promising to me that some companies that have a stake in reducing climate change have decided to, on their own, invest their money. I read an article that said Bloomburg, that guy, Michael Bloomberg, I think, was saying that his charity will send money to the UN to help foot the bill that the US is pulling out from. I think that sort of thing, if a company or charity wants to participate, I think that's a really good thing. Because normally companies, from my perspective, aren't always that charitable because their bottom line is profits and charity is an antithesis to earning money. I think if more companies were to do that, then we would be better off. But there's a caveat. I don't think companies should be forced to. Why? I don't know if forcing people to do things they don't want to do is good. I mean, we have laws, and those laws force people to obey certain behaviors. If somebody commits a crime, we punish them. That's how society functions. Now, you may be one of those tabula rasa, blank slate, everybody is good, or you might be, I don't remember the philosopher on the other side, but you might believe that everybody is flawed and the social contract holds everyone together. I think that was either Hobbes or I don't remember. But the bottom line is society functions because we have law and order, and we use laws to prohibit behavior that we find indecent or against human rights. Using the government as a tool to pressure social change or environmental change or just change in general rather than keeping a baseline law of humanity is sometimes an issue that a lot of people find intrusive in their lives. Yes, if people are taking advantage of other people, then we should stop them. And that's what a lot of people argue with climate change, that a lot of people are profiting off of the productivity and whatever that coal and fossil fuels like natural gas and I think natural gas is considered a fossil fuel, but like natural gas and coal and oil, a lot of people profit off of that, and they don't share those profits, while they do share the cost to the environment that comes about from using those in the abundance that we do. I think that isn't necessarily fair. I'm on both sides, I guess. I don't have good opinions, I just have questions. I'm not right. I don't know if I'm wrong. I just wonder. And I've listened to several videos on the topic. I'm going to continue to listen to more. I'm unsure where, like, I don't know what to believe sometimes, because you have lots of people on both sides saying, oh, this is the truth, this is the truth. It's not that people are telling lies, but not everybody tells the whole truth, or at least they have their bias and they say, this is what I believe. No, they don't even say, this is what I believe. That's the problem. They say, this is what it is. And then you have the other side saying the exact opposite thing. You'll have people like Trump saying, oh, the Paris Agreement is bad for the U.S., and other commentators on this subject say, oh, Trump is wrong, it's not bad for the U.S., it's good for the world. But I think it depends on what you mean, what is bad for the U.S. The U.S. would be reducing the productivity of coal and oil, and those are industries that we rely on. Now, whether or not they will save jobs, I don't think so, because a lot of those jobs have been lost to automation, and you can't get jobs back from automation. That's not a thing that happens, because automation is when you find a very efficient thing that's more efficient than human labor. But you can make new jobs, and that's what they say, oh, we'll make new jobs with the green technology sector, which has been increasing, but it's also heavily subsidized, which is an artificial form of manipulating how much productivity and wealth there is in that industry. There are a lot of companies that said that they, like Elon Musk, he, with Tesla and SpaceX, he said he would step down from engaging with the council that advises Trump if Trump pulls out of the Paris Agreement. I'm pretty sure that Elon Musk, his technology is more on the green spectrum and it's more in the tech industry, and I think that he probably receives subsidies. I'm not sure. I don't know all of what has to do with his company, but his company probably receives subsidies, and so he's not really interested in the coal and oil industry. So productivity for him is productivity in the green and the tech areas of our nation. I just think a lot of people, their interests are, well, diverse, yes, but they're isolated from each other. You have groups of individuals that don't have a stake in other people's advances. There are people who drill baby drill because that's how they make their money, and they don't make their money in green. They don't make their money in clean. They make their money in the quote unquote dirty traditional coal industry or oil industry. And so if you're putting limits and regulation on them, that's hurting their livelihood. Now, whether or not they deserve it, I don't think deserving is a good criteria of anything, because aside from human rights, I don't think society can say that people deserve anything. And even human rights are debatable because they were created by humanity. We get to determine what our human rights are. If you ask the universe, which you can't because it's not sentient, what are the rights of our universe. Like, what do humans deserve? And the universe is silent. And so it's up to humanity to decide. I mean, you can get your inspiration from tradition and religious text and all that sort of thing, but that again is humans developing things based on either what they believe to be a revelation from a higher power or just their own minds churning out these codes and rules for how we should engage with each other. I think it's a complicated issue. I don't know about any answers. I don't know about any solutions. All I know is that we have to start learning to look at the bigger picture. And a lot of people already do, but there are multiple facets to every issue. If you look at it, some people only look at one side of this, and it's not even just a coin, it's more like a cube or one of those huge, like a polyhedron. Like, there are so many sides to this, and so many people at stake, and some people want it, and some people don't, and some people benefit, and some people it costs them stuff, and we really have to have a discussion. And even then, once we have a discussion, what are we going to choose? Is it going to be democracy, where it's going to be mob rule? Democracy isn't always mob rule, but at its basic core, that's what it is. If you have one guy who's making a lot of profit in one thing, and everybody else says, no, we don't get profit from this, and they say, we're going to destroy what you have because it doesn't benefit us, that's mob rule. But on the other hand, if you have just one guy making all this stuff and everybody else is suffering because of it, that's not utilitarian. Everybody else is basically screwed over, and this guy is doing whatever he wants, and he's not being held responsible. I don't have an answer. I don't think anybody really has an answer, and we pretend we do. We have to do something. I think that, again, from my perspective, the biggest thing that I think is positive is these people in power that are business professionals choosing of their own accord to engage in the behavior that supports what they believe. I think that is progress. Get people to believe a certain thing. Don't force people, because that's just going to cause conflict. But once you convince people to believe on your side, then they will do it of their own accord, and you don't have to deal with it. Then you don't have to go, oh, I'm going to force you with using the government to make you do it. No, they're just going to do it on their own. If Elon Musk says, okay, I want to stay with the Paris Agreement, I'm going to support this by sending money. Good. That's good for him. And that's a wonderful thing in regards to climate change. If taxpayers say, I want to support climate change, I'm going to start donating to this. Well, not support actual climate change. I want to support efforts against climate change. And taxpayer, and instead of making it a tax, make it so, just let the public decide, but not let the public decide what their neighbor does. I don't think that's a good thing. You shouldn't force somebody to pay for something they don't want to pay for. I mean, that's what taxes are in general, but they're to help the community. But sometimes people don't want to help the community, and there's a limit to how much you can force them to. I mean, if we just every person in the U.S. mobbed Bill Gates and said, you're giving all your money to everybody, one, his money split upon 300 million people wouldn't be that much, but two, that wouldn't be right. We can't do that. Even though it would benefit more people that he had less money, that's still not right. But he's also a bad example because he gives a lot to charity, but still, you can't just go and mob somebody because they have more. It's not right. So it's been about 14 minutes in this video, and I could talk on this forever, probably. So I'm just going to end this video, and I'll probably put some pictures up and maybe some words, and submit it to YouTube, and maybe one or two people will listen to it. I don't know. I really don't know. But I'll continue to learn, and that's the biggest thing. As long as we continue to learn, we will